Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
January the 6th, and we continue looking at the flood narrative as we look at today Genesis chapter 9 as well as chapter 10. And notice what happens after the flood. God blessed Noah and his sons, and he says to them something. Here's the purpose of the flood. The purpose of the flood, we take, again, back to creation, back to the Garden of Eden. We hear the similar language that God told Adam and Eve. Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth. And then there's a difference, though. Look at the difference that sin has made. Look at verse 2. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens. So we see the animals being gathered 2 times in Genesis so far. We saw them gathered before Adam, as Adam names them. We also see them gathered before Noah, as Noah saves them. But here, something changes. In verse 2, the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth. And then we have this language here, into your hand they are delivered. Now, we continue further and notice that man is, or the image of God, still remains, even though it's deranged or defaced. Look what happens here. Genesis verse 6. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man his blood shall be shed. Now here's the key. For God made man in his own image. So even after the fall, even through the flood, the image of God remains. Now, the image of God remains today. The image of God is, as we say, defaced, but not erased. And you, again, verse 7, that's plural there, you, that's you all. He's talking not just to Noah, but to his sons. Be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth, and multiply in it. And then look at verse 9. I establish my covenant with you. Here's this covenant language. And your offspring after you. There's a continual action that God is saying, I'm going to do throughout the generations of your family. I'm going to accomplish salvation to the ends of the earth. And then verse 13. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It's a good reminder for us to remember that the phrase, after every rainstorm is a rainbow, that's a Christian phrase. That's what Christians say. Christians realize that salvation comes through judgment. Judgment has to come because of sinfulness, but salvation follows judgment because God is faithful. And verse 16 says that it is an everlasting covenant. Now, very quickly, let's move into this instance in verse 18. The sons of Noah were set forth from the ark, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then we have this note, and again, the narrator is taking us into the story. The purpose of the Bible is not to just give us the events, but to give us an interpretation of the events. And we have this parenthetical statement, Ham was the father of Canaan. And then look at verse 20. We see another, again, taking us back to the garden, we see a bit of the fall again. Noah began to be a man of the soul, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine, and he became drunk, and he lay uncovered in his tent. What was it that caused man to fall the first time? It was fruit. And here, what causes man's fall the second time, we could say? It is the fruit of the vine. And then look at this. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and he told his 2 brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, again, Genesis language, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So we see Ham here, who receives a curse. The reason Ham receives a curse is because Ham becomes the accuser. This garden of imagery permeates this passage in Genesis chapter 9 here. And also, too, Ham becomes the accuser Shem and Japheth with the garment, they become redeemers. And notice again how the ESV is just weaving all of this tapestry together for us. Look at where it takes us in Matthew chapter 4. Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, that is, by the old serpent, by the accuser. Jesus, as we're going to learn later, is our Redeemer. Satan accuses, but Jesus lays his garment upon us, the garment of his own flesh, for our salvation.